Good evening. You're watching the main news on HKIBC. I'm Azam Khan. Here's a look at tonight's top stories. 2 new infrastructure projects enter service today, which includes the city's first bridge for pedestrians, cyclists, and vehicles. An elderly couple is suspected of murdering their chronically ill daughter. The Chung Kwan O Lambton Tunnel was finally opened to the public after 6 years of construction. Following the launch of the new tunnel, the Chung Kwan O Tunnel is now toll-free, and 3 additional bus routes will be available starting tomorrow. Janice Lowe reports.
Starting from today, commuters traveling between Lohas Park and Kwun Tong could shorten their journey by at least 20 minutes during rush hours. This comes as the Chung Kwan O Lambton Tunnel opened at 8 a.m. today. The 2.2 kilometers tunnel serves as an alternative for the Chung Kwan O Tunnel, which used to be the only option to travel between the new town and East Kowloon. As the first among the 70 cars to go through the tunnel, this taxi driver had already arrived at the entrance 45 minutes ahead of the opening.
期待，係啦，非常期待。
I am very looking forward to use the tunnel, he said. Shortly before the opening, the vehicles were guided by police officers to travel through the new tunnel. Upon entering the tunnel, those heading to Chung Kwan O Town Center should opt for the left of the lane, while commuters traveling to Lohas Park or Chung Kwan O Industrial Center via the Cross Bay link should keep to the right of the lane. In just 12 minutes, cars which started off at Kowloon had already reached Lohas Park. Those heading to Hong Kong Island can also use the new tunnel, as it has a lane which connects to the Eastern Harbour crossing. Although the commute from Lohas Park to the Eastern District is shortened because of the new tunnel, the same does not apply for people commuting to the northern part of Chung Kwan O. They still have to use the existing Chung Kwan O tunnel, which has been made toll-free after the launch of the new tunnel. Starting from tomorrow, Kowloon Motor Bus will commence 3 new bus routes which will travel through the tunnel. They are bus number 96, 290E, and 298X. Janice Lowe, HKIBC.
The Cross Bay link connecting with the Chung Kwan O Lambton Tunnel welcomed motorists and visitors as it went into service today. Many enjoyed the view on the sea crossing, which is the first in the city to feature pedestrian, vehicle, and cycling paths. Joanna Ho reports.
There is good news for outdoor lovers in Hong Kong as a new landmark opened for the public today. Visitors and cyclists flocked to the Cross Bay Link, which is the first bridge in the city over the sea to feature paths for pedestrians and cyclists. The sea crossing connects the Chung Kwan O Lambton Tunnel with Wen O Road, adjacent to Lohas Park. Jeremy's family was among the crowd to share the joy and feel the fresh air today.
We saw them building the bridge for the last 2 years, so we said when the bridge opens we must go and try and cross it, see what's on the other side.
Kelly, who was with Jeremy, urged people to come explore the track, saying it's a new experience to bike next to vehicles on the road. Many also grasped the opportunity to take photos at the scenic spot. But the bridge, which measures approximately 1.8 kilometers, might be too long for some people who want a casual walk. This girl backtracked, feeling exhausted after walking for some time. This young biker, meanwhile, expressed concern over the traffic signs, saying she was unclear whether they're for cyclists or cars. The pedestrian and cycling paths are separated by planters on the bridge. While maintaining safety and order, police also distributed leaflets that remind users to beware of road safety. Visiting the Transport Department's Emergency Transport Coordination Center this morning, Chief Executive John Lee inspected the situation on the Cross Bay Link and the Chung Kwan O Lambton Tunnel on their first day in operation. He was grateful that many citizens were actively using the new infrastructure and said tomorrow would be a greater challenge as the 2 facilities will operate for the first time on a weekday. Joanna Ho, HKIBC.
The city's finance chief has called on the government to be far-sighted while planning the development of land and transport infrastructures. Writing on his weekly blog, Paul Chan joined in with a joyous spirit in opening the Chung Kwan O Lam Tin Tunnel. Drawing a brief overview on Hong Kong's infrastructure achievements, Chan said over 360 kilometers of roads were built since the handover. He emphasized the importance of planning ahead while developing land and transport infrastructure, saying it often takes long to design and construct them. Authorities were urged to break through limitations in the past to create a larger space for innovation in society to foster economic growth. Chan cited previous infrastructure projects in the city, such as the third runway at the airport, saying it benefited citizens and the economy, despite doubts and obstructions from the public earlier. Police have arrested an elderly couple on suspicion of murdering their chronically ill daughter at their home in Tse Wan Shan earlier this morning. The 47-year-old victim suffered injuries to her forehead and neck and was pronounced dead after being taken to the hospital. Joanna Ho reports.
The elderly couple, who are in their 70s, were escorted to the police vehicle with their heads covered in the early hours this morning. Acting on a tip-off by the 74-year-old mother, who confessed of having attacked her daughter with a hammer, officers and paramedics arrived at the scene in Lokshan House at Tse Lok Estate shortly after 1:30 a.m.
單位入邊，裡面有一名女士倒卧咗喺客廳嘅地下。
The 47-year-old victim was found lying unconscious on the floor with blood stains in her room, the bathroom, and the living room, said Lau Ka Ho, Assistant District Commander Wong Tai Sin. Although there were no signs of a struggle, the victim had wounds on her forehead and neck believed to be caused by hard objects. She was certified dead around an hour later at Kwang Wah Hospital, despite resuscitation efforts. Police said the 47-year-old had to be looked after and cared for by the parents, as she was chronically ill and mobility impaired. According to sources, the mother apparently faced difficulties trying to look after her daughter. Both parents and the victim have no record of mental illness, and there were no reports of any previous conflicts from the flat. Police seized a hammer and the victim's clothing, some of which had blood stains from the scene, and are investigating the motive for the offense. The case was classified as murder. The suspect couple are now detained in Wong Tai Sin Police Station. Joanna Ho, HKIBC.
New COVID infections in the city continued their upward trend. Hong Kong recorded 14,918 new infections, out of which 685 were imported. Among the imported cases, 415 were inbound travelers who tested positive at the airport upon arrival. The virus killed 24 people, keeping the death toll above 20 for the third straight day. People in the mainland are stockpiling medications and testing kits after Beijing relaxed COVID measures. A Shanghai-based doctor expects the current COVID wave to last for up to 6 months. Janice Lowe reports.
Long queues outside the pharmacies are still a common sight on the mainland as people continued to pile up rapid antigen test kits and flu medications. However, most were left empty-handed because shelves have been emptied. Even though Beijing's abrupt announcement of optimized COVID measures are seen as a step away from the zero COVID policy, many are struggling to change their mode of living after strict measures during the past 3 years. Zhang Wenhong, a Shanghai-based doctor, wrote in an article that the peak of the current wave might arrive within a month. As PCR tests have been scrapped, he expects there will be a high risk of catching COVID in the community due to the rise in transmission. Although it might take up to 6 months to undergo the current wave, Zhang said it will get better after the coming month. But there's good news for Guangzhou, after the city experienced a surge in COVID cases for the past month. The country's infectious disease expert Zhong Nanshan expects residents' lives to return to pre-COVID conditions by mid-January to February. People going in and out of Shenzhen would not need to show results for a negative PCR test from today. The mainland recorded another 10,597 cases. Starting tomorrow, cross-border truck drivers can deliver or pick up goods from their original location in a further relaxation of transport restriction. Currently, Hong Kong drivers must pass their goods to a driver from the mainland at a shuttle point, who then drives them to their destination. Janice Low, HKIBC.
This year's Nobel Peace Prize was awarded to 3 human rights activists from Ukraine, Belarus, and Russia. The 3 recipients took aim at President Putin and his campaign in Ukraine during their acceptance speech. The 2022 Nobel Peace Prize was awarded to 3 winners: Alexandra Matvichuk of the Kiev-based Center for Civil Liberties, Jan Rachinsky of the Russian human rights organization Memorial, and jailed human rights advocate Ales Bialyatsky of Belarus, who was represented by his wife, Natalia Pinchuk. Pinchuk said it was a wake-up call to take on international dictatorships, as her husband, Ales Bialyatsky, who is considered a champion of the human rights movement in Eastern Europe, sits in jail on politically motivated charges. Jan Rachinsky's Memorial is one of Russia's oldest and most prominent human rights organizations, which was shut down by the country's Supreme Court. While Alexandra Matvichuk is a Ukrainian human rights lawyer and is an active campaigner for democratic reforms in her country. Criticism of Russia and Belarus dominated the ceremony, as the winners of the Peace Prize called out the oppression of free speech in both countries. Meanwhile, an opulent banquet was held in the Swedish capital Stockholm, following a ceremony where the Swedish Academy handed out the prestigious Nobel Prize to individuals across various fields, including the sciences, medicine, and literature, for their contributions to society. And finally, the former North Kowloon Magistracy will get an uplift under the Historic Building Revitalization Scheme. The heritage structure will be developed into a center for judicial education. Fifi Choi has the details.
The former North Kowloon Magistracy, which witnessed the judicial development of Hong Kong in the post-war era, will soon be developed as a center for judicial education, promoting local culture and leisure aspect of life. The Grade II historic building, which once housed the Hong Kong campus of the Savannah College of Art and Design, was taken back by the government after the lease expired in August 2020. The Development Bureau approved a project by the Society of Rehabilitation and Crime Prevention under the historic buildings through partnership schemes to revitalize the site. Architectural features such as the dividing central staircase with ornamental ironwork balustrades featuring flower motifs adorn the lobby. Heavy wooden doors add an old-world charm to the interiors. Chief Executive of the Society, Anthea Lee, hopes visitors and workshop participants can have an interactive experience to learn more about the judicial evolution of the city. The center will also promote creative art and should be operational in 3 years.
Our emphasis is on judicial education, the rule of law, and the judicial and the legal system of Hong Kong. Our main aim as the society is to promote legal education, which is a very, very important issue for Hong Kong, especially after 2014 or 2019.
Retired members of the judiciary will be invited to share their professional experiences and conduct guided tours, Lee added. The courts behind me will be used for activities such as drama education and mock trials. The group hopes to enrich young people's knowledge about Hong Kong's judicial system. The government has approved funding of $160 million for the project and will spend a further $5 million to sustain it in the initial stages. The project is expected to create 30 jobs. Fifi Cho, HKIBC.
On to the weather now. It'll be overcast with sunny intervals. Temperatures will range between 15 and 19 degrees. Overcast conditions will prevail for the next couple of days. Now let's take a look at the weather around the world. That's our main news for Sunday night. Join us for more news at 11. I'm Azam Khan. Thanks for watching. Good night.